Well, hello and welcome back to Retro Direction. This is Michael, and welcome to the good old YouTube channel for retro gaming. And as promised, this is the review of a good couple of games. First of all, we're going to start with good old Doom. Now let's go back to the beginning. Well, the beginning of the game at least. Now, first of all, this is one game I play on ultra difficulty, usually without cheating. But if it gets a little bit too much, then unfortunately we have to resort to the infinite health, the famous God mode cheat. Anyway, first things first. Now, first released on the PC back in 1993, Doom was one of the best shoot-'em-ups ever. In fact, it was probably considered the father of all shoot-'em-ups. I mean, before it we had Wolfenstein 3D, but the thing with Wolfenstein is that it wasn't quite as terrifying and as fast-paced as Doom. Now, Doom is quite a terrifying game. Now, more on that as we go further into the review. Now, first of all, while I kill a few horrible, nasty people here, well, they were people, they're zombies now. And demonic zombies at that. Right, now, first of all, Doom on the PlayStation is quite different to the Doom that fans have come to know and love and, you know, sort of live and breathe on the PC. Now, admittedly, I'm not really a big PC gamer. I never really have been. I've probably played 2 or 3 games on the PC. One of them was Unreal 2, and the original Unreal. The rest, I haven't really played very much on there. I tend to be more geared toward consoles. Hence, I'm a good old retro gamer. Now, first of all, everybody wanted to play Doom when they first tried it on the PC. So it was converted onto the PlayStation, finally, in 1995, a couple of years afterwards. Yeah, a couple of years after it came out on the PC, to start with, back in 93. Now, first of all, if you speak to an avid Doom fan who's played it to death on the PC, he's going to tell you this is nothing like the PC version, and he'd be absolutely correct, because it isn't really exactly the same as the PC version. Now, I have played the PC version. I've played it quite extensively, and I've also played it on emulations as well. Now, I first played this in Italy on a friend's PC next door, and I kind of got hooked on it. I really wanted to play it, but at the time, I didn't really have a PC. I didn't have any internet. But now we're talking early 90s, so things were a little bit limited back then. But when I first got a Saturn and then ultimately a PlayStation, I was really curious about Doom. Now, the thing that put me off to start with was the horrible pixelation of all the characters when they came up close to you. Right, let's get going actually, because I'm pacing back and forth here. There you go. So, yes, the characters unfortunately pixelate nastily when they're up close. Like so. And that was what put me off initially. Now, of course, eventually I got over that. But I really wanted to try out this Doom. I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And I must admit, when I bought this, I was both terrified and hooked at the same time, in equal measure. Now, the first Doom I ever played, properly on consoles, was the sequel to this one, Final Doom, which really scared the crap out of me. Now, if you can remember back to my review of the original Tomb Raider, I was in Italy at the time, and there were 2 games that I was playing, Tomb Raider and Final Doom. Now, Final Doom I could only play during the daytime, because if I played it at night, it scared the crap out of me. And this Doom here will do pretty much the same thing. If you're a little bit faint of heart, it's going to scare you. Mainly because of the story. Oh, look at that, I just got killed. Well, there you are, that's me trying to multitask there, which I'm not good at. I'll tell you what though, I think for the purposes of the video, I'm going to turn God mode on so I don't keep dying and restarting, and I can, stand still in one place and tell you a little bit about this fantastic game without being blasted to hell. So we're going to activate that cheat. We're going to do it right now. There we are, all powerful mode on. Right, I'm now immortal. I can't die, so we're going to go right up close to these monsters and we're going to shoot the crap out of them all. I'm going to turn the sound up a bit as well, because what we need to talk about here for the PlayStation version is the sound. There you go. Now unfortunately I'm not awfully tech savvy enough to sort of hook this up to my surround, so I'm going to have to do it this way. But the only way you can play Doom in surround sound is if you play it on your PS3, because all PS3s play PS1 games, no matter what version you have. I know the earlier ones played PS2 as well, but the subsequent ones didn't have the emulation tool to play PS2 games, but they still play PS1. So if you want to experience Doom on a surround, put it in your PS3. I have done, and I mean it kind of does it in stereo, but you still get the idea. If you play it with surround headphones, it's scary. Now, first of all, differences between this version and the PC version. First of all, the resolution is considerably lower, and the background music is not that sort of, quite charming rock music that the original had. These sound effects are very terrifying. As you can tell, I'm going to turn the sound up a bit more. You should still be able to hear me talking. But now, as you can hear, it's very atmospheric sound. It's very chilling. It's very creepy. With all this weird music. And it's different for every level. And if you listen carefully, you can still hear demons and monsters gurgling and growling in the background. And if you play it with headphones, that's when it's at its most terrifying, because you can hear like distinct whispering and chattering and all kinds of really horrible sounds that you really don't want to hear. But what it still does retain from the PC version is that fast-paced blasting action, which fans love. I mean, first of all, the PlayStation version is impressive. You've got to admit, without, if there's not too much going on screen, and if you're not in a very, processor-intensive area, like a really wide expanse with lots and lots of enemies on screen, this is very smooth. As you can see, it's a good 30 frames a second. And the first background we have is the mountain range there, or hills, which is quite interesting. Now the backgrounds do vary. They start off, at least in the original Doom, which I'm playing now, with this background here. And as the game progresses, you get different skies. Like, for example, you get I think a few levels into the game, about a quarter of the way into the game, you get this, this beautiful orange glow of a fantastic sunset, a very infernal sunset. It's kind of hellish. Now, and then after that you get a very unusual sky, which is like adorned with skulls and skeletons and, basically something evil. And then you get a very fiery sky when you go to hell itself. You just get, this beautifully animated flaming sky with, flames that reach beyond the heavens. In fact, I'd say the word heaven doesn't have a place in this game. Now, first of all, the story is that, just to cut it short, scientists have opened a portal, they've experimented with portals, and they've let demons from hell spill into our world. Well, I mean, this is set on Mars mainly. And basically they're invading. Horrible, nasty demons. that you've got to blast. So basically the demons have killed your buddies and you're the only Marine left in space looking after things. You're basically a space caretaker. And you've got to take care of things in the only way you know how, by blasting demonic things to hell. Basically back to where they came from. Now the first level is like an introductory level. Now as you can see, there's a barrel here. You see that barrel? If I shoot the barrel, and you can hear the squelchy sound, because if you shoot a barrel that's near enemies or a group of barrels, you get an explosion of, guts and gore. It's brilliant. And I'm not usually a gore-loving person, not anymore. Anyway, now this is the end of the level, but of course, in all of the levels in Doom, there are secrets to find, and I haven't found them all, believe it or not. But here's one of them. You could easily go out that door that I just showed you, and you can exit the level, but there is something else, and you've got to be quick. So you've got to really sprint along here, get all the way to the top, and I have done. And there you find something called a pain elemental. And when you kill him, he spews forth the lost souls, which are just floating fiery skulls. So really, if you kill him, it's as bad as letting him stay alive. You got another fellow down here. Now up top there you had an example of the PlayStation's transparency techniques. Now there are differences between this version and the PC version. Now in my personal opinion, I prefer the PS1 version for the simple reason that the music and the sound effects are really terrifying. It's what a Doom game should be about. I know it's all about frenetic, fast-paced blasting, but I think a rock soundtrack doesn't belong with this game because of the story, because of the background, because of the the hellish atmosphere and exactly what's going on and what you're up against. You need sound effects that are chilling like this, because you can play this game in two ways. You can either take your time and creep around the place and just really try and be as careful as you can, or you could just run through the levels and blast everything that moves, but it will get you killed, in particular on higher difficulty levels. Now let's go and exit this level and go into the next one. Now, first of all, differences. As you can see, lighting effects. There are lots of different lighting effects, and you've got different types of coloured lighting. Sometimes you'll have a red tinge, an orangey tinge, yellow. Sometimes you'll creep through hallways that have got like a pulsating blue light. And some levels are completely veiled in darkness, and the only thing to light your way is the flash of your firearm. So as you can see, I've got 109% in kills, so I've killed every single monster, but only 87% of the items. But having a God mode on, you're not going to pick them all up because you don't need them. Anyway, blast a barrel near a monster. It's dangerous. There you go, I'll shoot that one. There you go, got one of them. And it gets him. Blast this one. Now you get all sorts of different types of demons here. There's one unfortunate omission from the PlayStation version. I'm certain they left him out because of the requirements of the processor. Humble PS1 probably wouldn't have been able to handle it very easily, because the monster they left out was the Archvile. Now, with the presence of the Archvile, he resuscitates monsters that you've killed. So unless you kill him, he's going to keep resurrecting all the creatures that you've killed. So he's a dangerous one. So I don't think the PlayStation could handle that easily. So they left him out. And it's quite a disappointing omission for fans, especially. And as you can see, you've got that creepy music. And I'll tell you one thing, it gets creepier the more you play the game, because this is the first, let's say, soundtrack. Then you get the distant roars and growls of demons that are somewhere in the level, that you know they're there, they're somewhere. You don't know where they are, but you can hear them opening doors. You can hear them summoning each other, growling at each other. You can hear them growling because they're angry, because they think sooner or later this Marine is going to come across us and we're going to eat him. So it's really scary stuff. And further in, there's one particular sound effect that really scared the crap out of me, and I heard that in Final Doom the first time, and it is in this Doom as well. It's the echoing baby crying. That's scary. That really did frighten me. Anyway, onwards and upwards. First of all, there are all sorts of different areas you can explore. And there's an example of a barrel. You shoot the barrel, it kills the monsters. Now the other thing, you can also lure monsters into a crossfire so they can shoot each other. And they'll do the dirty work for you, saves you your ammo. That's another really clever touch for this game. Now we're going to go outside. Now as you can see, the levels are quite expansive. They're very big. They are huge. Some of them bigger than others. It's not just, you know, tight corridors and enclosed spaces. Some of these levels go on forever. At least they seem to. And there you have it. Now, the other thing. First of all, this PlayStation version of Doom has got a good smattering of levels. There are 59 levels to play here. Now you've got some secret ones as well, and you've got a couple of secret levels which I won't spoil for you, just in case you haven't played the PlayStation version, but I would advise picking up a copy. I know quite a few PC version fans that have played the PS1 version. They've liked it, but at the same time they've said it's not like the PC version. But then again, it's not meant to be. I prefer this one. I mean, that frightening soundtrack really suits it down to a T. I mean, you want to go creeping around shooting demons that are out to get you with background sound effects and music that is creepy. Not, you know, rock tunes, because that, for me, that takes away a lot of the scare factor. It takes away the creepiness. You want something that's going to scare the pants off you, and this game does it. It truly does. There are lots of different enemies you can blast here. Now, they've got really very distinctive names. I quite like them. I mean, the one I shot before that spewed all those lost souls, he's called a Pain Elemental, and he has a cousin that is another floating monstrosity that breathes fire and bites you if you get up too close. He's called a Cacodemon. I call him a Cacodemon. And these things are imps. They shoot fireballs at you from far away. If you get too close, they'll scratch you. Now you get various switches that open doors, open secret areas as well. And now basically I could go on for ages in this level. But yeah, basically when I first played this, my first one was Final Doom. But I wanted to play the original Doom. And I must admit, this game here, despite the dated pixely graphics, you do get some truly quality blasting action. If you can look past the graphics and just imagine that you're there trying to stay alive, you forget it's, you know, you forget how dated it looks, and you think this is good fun. And it's so playable, so immensely playable. And with the added transparency effects and lighting effects, it makes it all the more terrifying. And the soundtrack, we have to give our compliments here to somebody called John Romero. He was the one that composed this soundtrack, and It came out of the depths of his imagination, so my compliments to him. Now, id Software are famous for quite a few games, obviously, but because this is a review of Doom, we'll probably touch on those at a later date. But Doom is the one you could quite easily say it started it all off, because all first-person shoot-'em-ups have got Doom to thank. The same way as all fighting games have got Street Fighter 2 to thank, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, you get creatures like imps, you get the cacodemons, pain elementals, and then you also get Knights of Hell, you get Barons of Hell, which are the stronger equivalent. And they kind of look a bit like a cross between big hulking demons and minotaurs. Anyway, I could go on for ages about how good this game is. Oh, look at that. Let's shoot them all. And there you go. That's pretty much it. You have pretty much completed this level. Once you go down there, there's a few more here. Right, kill all of you lot. And of course you can look out the various windows and see, you know, the rest of the level, places where you've been, places where you probably haven't been yet and that you need to go. It's really, really creepy. So we'll exit this level as well now. So I won't drag on too long about this game, because pretty much this is what Doom's about. I will say it is definitely an experience to play it. If you've never played Doom and you've got a PlayStation, or if you're starting out being a retro collector and you're lucky enough to have a PlayStation, this is the version of Doom to get. Don't bother with any other versions on any other consoles, because they're nowhere near the quality of this one. This is a truly quality shoot-'em-up in every respect. And it's just amazingly playable. It's very fast, very smooth. Oh, and of course you collect keys, color-coded keys. I mean, for example, in the previous level there was a red door, for which I needed a red key, and the blue one, and there's a yellow one as well. And yeah, once you get your 3 keys, that's what you've got to do. It's pretty much all about finding keys to exits or to other parts of a level. But the levels are all diverse. The backgrounds are diverse. The first smattering of levels involves that mountain range. Then I believe you get the hell levels. There's one level also that's a bit like, kind of like a cloudy sky. It's perpetually cloudy. It's very depressing. You just want to get out of there. And I know I'm not playing the game as I should, but believe me, I have played it without cheats. And in some sections, you need cheats. And I also firmly believe that the only way to play this game and experience, you know, the sheer intensity of what it's got to offer is by playing it in the hardest setting, because you get all the enemies placed in all of the places. At every turn there are enemies. You don't know where they're going to spring out from. You play it on any easier mode, it does take away a bit. You've really got to play it as though you're surviving, as though it's you there, it's you trying to survive. And that is the way to experience Doom. you've got to experience it in the right way. And wherever you look, wherever you turn, there are demons. If I didn't have the cheat on now, and I'd have stayed at that window, I'd have been dead within seconds. And there's a lot of trial and error. But the thing is, if you get immersed into this, you just love it. And if it gets too much, you know you've got the cheats to fall back on, just to get you through that particular section, and then you could always take them off. But anyway, that's pretty much it. This is the Doom experience. Now, do get yourselves a copy of it if you haven't yet. It truly is the best version to play. I know PC lovers will quite simply disagree with me there, but I mean, in terms of sheer creepiness and fear factor, and you know, when it comes to thinking about what this game's about and what the story is, and the fact that there are demons out to invade Mars and then ultimately Earth, you need a soundtrack like this one, where you need the distant demon growls and the baby crying in the distance, wondering where it comes from. It's truly terrifying. And if you've got headphones, surround sound headphones, play it with those. Play it at night time. It's just as good as any other horror game on modern consoles today. I think it's brilliant, personally. Now, for those of you that own a Sega Saturn, like myself, the Saturn version is rubbish, so don't bother with it. It's very jerky, very slow, it doesn't have any other lighting effects, none of the transparencies. It's simply an abomination. It's a complete mess, and I don't know why it was ever released. So the PlayStation is the version to own. Anyway, as usual, thanks for joining me, and the next review will probably be yes, that's a good old driving game called NASCAR Rumble, and that's quite an interesting one, quite a rare one on the PlayStation, a US version. By the way, this Doom version is the US version I've got as well, because it's full screen, full speed. But the PAL versions are quite well optimized, so if the UK version is the only one you can get hold of, just do it. Blindly do it. In fact, get both Dooms. Doom 1 and Final Doom. You will not regret it. Quality blasting action. Anyway, take care of yourselves and each other, and you know where you stand with retro. Ciao, ciao.